Hey, Charles here with Rocky Mountain, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install the Tusk LED headlights on your Yamaha Sport Quad. Now these are a massive upgrade over the stock headlights. There's a few reasons that people are upgrading to them. So the stock ones, they're halogen. These ones are going to be LED. They're going to throw more light. They're brighter. It keeps the high and low functionality. And you're also going to be adding some accent lights with integrated turn signals. So some really cool features with these headlights. Now, as far as installation goes, we're going to be doing this on our Yamaha Raptor 700, but they're also going to work for the YFZ 450s and the Wolverines. Just make sure you type in your year, make, and model on our website to make sure this is going to work for you. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get started. So right here we have the Tusk LED headlights. They're going to come with a little bit of extra wire, and that's so you can take advantage of these accent lights as well. The headlights plug right in. Now if you haven't picked these up yet, you can find them on our website by clicking the link in the description below. To get this done, I have safety glasses, rubber gloves, rags, a 10mm socket, little flat blade screwdriver, a pick, number 2 Phillips screwdriver, needle nose pliers, side cutters. I've got a test light as well as a soldering iron and solder. We've got a little bit of electrical tape. Now to tie everything down when we're done, we have a few zip ties. We also have some crimp style connectors. You don't have to have these, but we're going to be using some today. And then we also have some silicone spray and some contact cleaner. The first thing you need to do is remove your stock headlights. So I do want to point out that we do have these LED lights already installed, but it's going to be the same process either way. So the first thing you want to do, you have these 3 wires going down to a connector, and you'll see a tab on top of that white connector. You need to press down on that as you pull out. So we've got our wiring disconnected, and then we have 2 bolts, one up top and one down below. I'm going to use my 10mm socket to remove those. And then there's a little prong coming from the frame. We've got a grommet on the headlight housing that sits on there. And you just pull out on this to release it. Then we'll do those same steps on the other side. So the headlights we just removed, we've brought them to the bench, and we actually need to use these rubber grommets and collars off of each of them. So I'm going to use just a flat blade screwdriver to press that collar out, and then same thing with the grommets. You can use that flat blade screwdriver to push it through that plastic mount, and then we're just going to transfer these over to the new headlight. And if they don't go easy like that, you can use a little silicone spray on them. Make sure you get that collar in there. And then we're going to do those same steps for the remaining locations on both of these.
Now when you do this, it's a good idea to do it on a soft surface so you don't scratch these lights. You can always lay down a microfiber towel.
Next we have the decorative housing. So we've got a little tab held in by a screw. We'll go ahead and remove that. And then there's just a few plastic tabs that hold this into place. So you're just going to pop that headlight past there. Now we can drop the new headlight into this cover. And we're just going to make sure those clips are holding this in place. And then we'll go right up here. We're going to put that retainer back on. So right here we have our headlights prepped and ready to go. I do want to point out that with all of these grommets, only the two outer ones are going to have those metal collars in them. These inner ones, those are going to be for the metal prongs. So with everything prepped and ready to go, we'll head over to the machine. Next, we can reinstall the headlights. So once you have your headlights plugged in, now we have to deal with the two wires on each side. So we've got a red wire, and then the left side's gonna have a yellow wire. The right side will have a green wire coming out of there. So the red wire, that is for the running light or accent light. And then for the white wires, I'm gonna have to jump one of these over to the other headlight. So I'm gonna combine these together, and I'm actually gonna route this from here all the way back to my fuse box. But before I do that, I need to make a connection to the red wire. You can solder this in, but I highly recommend using some bullet connectors or a crimp-on connector. And that way, if you ever need to remove your headlight, you can do that without cutting wires. So we're gonna go ahead and install some crimp-on connectors. And I'm gonna start by routing one of these wires along existing wiring all the way back to our fuse box. And as you do that, avoid any pinch points, rotating parts, or hot things like the exhaust. So right here, we've got our fuse box. I'm gonna open that up, and this blue 15 amp fuse, that's gonna be for our lights. So we're just gonna tie into this. Now, with this, I've gone ahead and turned my key on, and I wanna go to the right side of the fuse to make sure if the fuse blows that we don't have power to our headlights anymore. So on the back side, you can see we have power on both sides. So to determine what side we need to connect to, I'm gonna remove the fuse and test for power one more time. So we've got power on this side. We don't have power on that side. So if the fuse blew, we wouldn't have any power to this other side, and that's where we need to tie in. So from there, make sure you have your key off. There's a little tab on this box. You press in on that and the whole box should pop up. You might have to work it free. This is the tab I'm talking about. So right here we have access to all of our wires. So we're going second wire in, opposite of this. So that's gonna be this wire right here. Now inside of here, there's a little plastic tab holding this connector in place. I'm gonna push in on that and pull the connector down by pulling on this wire. That's just gonna make everything easier to work with. So just pay attention to how this comes out so you get it back in the same way. Now for the white wire, make sure you have plenty of slack in this so it's not being pulled tight at any point. And we're actually gonna cut this to length, and I'm gonna solder it straight to this connector. If you wanna pull back the insulation, you can solder to that instead, but this is just gonna be a little bit cleaner. So I'll go ahead and cut this. Give it a little haircut. All right, to get this soldered up, I've got the iron heating up. While I'm doing that, I've got a little contact cleaner. I'm gonna solder to the inside of this connector. So that's nice and clean. So with that cleaned up, I'm going to tin my soldering iron. So just putting a little solder on top of there. And we're gonna melt a little solder onto this wire and my connector. So with both of these ready to go, I'm gonna heat up the connector, let the solder melt. And let it cool down. All right, once this is cooled down, just make sure that you pull on the wire, make sure it's on there nice and secure. And then we can just go back together with it. So I just heard that clip in right there. Might take a second to work it all the way up, but just make sure that both connectors look even on both sides and that this doesn't pull right out. So it's in there nice and solid. We can go ahead and reinstall our fuse. Put the cover on, then we're going to clip this back into place. And then we pulled some of these other items up as well. Set those back down. And you can go ahead and use a couple zip ties to secure your wiring. Then you can take your second wire and route that over to the other headlight. So once you do that, pull any excess through, and then I would recommend routing this roughly where you want to tie it down and making sure you have enough extra length, and then cut this to length to where you want it to go and connect to the red wire. So with that routed, we'll cut it to length. And install those crimp connectors. And then from here, we can go ahead and make our connection. So with those wires connected, we can go ahead and tie them down. Now, if you do plan on using the turn signal function, and you already have a signal and horn kit, you can go ahead and plug that in. But if you don't have one of those harnesses installed on your machine yet, you might want to look into that. Just keep in mind the green and the yellow wires, those are going to be for the wires coming from your flasher relay. So that's it for installing the Tusk LED headlights on your Yamaha Sport Quad. If you have any questions about the process, leave those down in the comments. And if you need to pick some of these up, they're available on our website. Just click the link in the description below. We offer free shipping on orders over $75. So take advantage of that and subscribe to our channel for more helpful content. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Thanks for watching.